Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. Welcome to the Career Week Entrepreneurship panel. My name is Joyce, the Special Projects Coordinator with the Business and Tourism Department. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that Mount St. Vincent University is located on Shabuktuk in Mi'kmaq, the unceded ancestral land of the Mi'kmaq people since time immemorial. This territory is covered by the government chain of treaties of peace and friendship signed between 1725 and 1779. We pay respect to the knowledge embedded in the Mi'kmaq custodians of the lands and waters, and to the elders past, present, and future. We are all treaty people. This event is learning passport eligible. It's just a reminder that the survey will be open for 48 hours after the discussion ends. Unless you are taking notes or translating, please refrain from using your phone. If we have time at the end, you will have a chance to ask questions to our panelists. Those of you who are joining us online, you can put your question in the chat box during the Q&A section, and we'll try our best to get to them. And today we are joined by Justin, Michelle, Lisa, Shannon, and Stephanie. So tell us about yourself and describe your positions and the organizations you are working with. So we'll start with Stephanie.
Thanks for your patience. My name is Stephanie Hovey. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the founder of Allied Therapy. Allied Therapy offers accessible speech-language pathology, occupational therapy, and behavior therapy across Nova Scotia. So, yeah, that is me. And my current position is founder of Allied, and I'm really pleased to be here.
Justin, we'll go with you next. Yes.
Hi, my name is Justin Belanger. I'm the founder of High Button Sports, a sports and entertainment broadcasting company here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. We started in 2017. We currently are pretty much across Atlantic Canada, less than Newfoundland, and we have about 25 people working for us. And we started in 2017, and I'm happy to be here.
Shannon?
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Boland-Musseau, and I am the founder and lead designer of One Day Affair. We are a decor design and planning company specializing in weddings and corporate events. And I also own and operate a micro wedding facility located in the heart of Halifax. We're about 8 years young. Thank you.
Michelle, you want to go next?
My name is Mitchell Squarey. I'm a registered international sport physical therapist, and I'm the founder and owner of msvu Physiotherapy. We've been in business for just over 7 years. We're in our 8th year now, also in 2017, same as Justin. And we're about 10 people at my clinic, which involves 5 physiotherapists, 3 massage therapists, and 2 administrative staff.
My name is Lisa Learning. I'm the founder and CEO of AtlanTick Repellent Products. We manufacture all natural repellents right here in Nova Scotia. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole adult life, and this is my 4th business I've had. And AtlanTick has been around since 2017.
Justin, do you always plan on becoming an entrepreneur? What profession or industry do you see yourself in when you graduated high school or post-secondary?
No, I didn't always see myself as an entrepreneur. I think becoming an entrepreneur, it kind of finds you in a sense, at least for me. It might find other people, but for myself, I stumbled upon it. Once you try each and every single thing out there, you know, down to Kent. My mom owned a spa. I tried working at the spa, folding towels. I did everything, and nothing really worked out. And then eventually, you know, I just took 1 year to myself and said, whatever happens here, you know, do what you want to do rather than doing what everyone else says to do. I took advice from other people my whole life, and it got me nowhere. But then that 1 year, I just started listening to my gut and doing what I thought was right. I was right, and it turned out I was passionate about broadcasting and sports, and and I guess content in general, and it all worked out for me. So no, it definitely wasn't something I planned on doing. It was just no other option. It's entrepreneurship is sink or swim. You're either going to do it or not. And if you have a passion and love for what you're doing, then you're off to the races. Then it's not even work. Then you're just having fun. So this is fun for me to be here. Yeah.
Lisa?
When I was in high school, we had this in grade 12, this course called Entrepreneurship. And at that time, that wasn't a normal word. And it was, but when I took that course, I knew that I wanted to be self-employed, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. So when I went to university, I took business, left, still didn't know what business to do or how to, start, even though I had business in school. But then I went and worked at a bank, and that was so painful that it really inspired me to go work for myself. So I just started my very first business. Had, like with anything, you don't really know what you're doing, but you kind of do, and you just learn as you go. And so long as you're open to learning, that's kind of what I've done ever since. And I absolutely wouldn't have it any other way.
Michelle, what about you?
I would say to a certain extent, yes. When I was in high school, I thought I wanted to be a dentist, which a significant amount of dentists are self-employed and own their own practice. And when I started my undergraduate degree at Dalhousie, I was, again, sort of on that beeline. This is what I'm going to do. And I got halfway through my degree and realized it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. And similar to Justin here, I love sports. I wasn't necessarily a high-end athlete. I wasn't going anywhere career-wise with sports, so I knew I wanted to be involved in it. So, and my passions were in the sciences, so I geared towards physiotherapy and learned about sport physiotherapy. And once I actually started practicing, the makeup of private clinics are often that you're either self-employed within those clinics, or you might be an employee, but you're usually fee for service. And so I decided, I wanted to create my own future. So I wanted to create my own path and be able to also help other individuals within my profession with that and mentor them. So that's what really, I had that kind of growing inside me already, but then my profession as well sort of drew me to it as well.
Stephanie?
I am completely accidentally an entrepreneur. I had zero pull to do entrepreneurship at all. I followed a very traditional academic pathway of doing my undergrad, doing my master's degree in speech language pathology, and then working in different roles as a speech language pathologist. Entrepreneurship didn't find me until about 10 years into my career and knocked me upside my head.
I as well did have no plans to be an entrepreneur. I was very, very shy and timid growing up. Most people would say, how is that possible today? But yeah, so I couldn't even imagine talking to anybody else, let alone trying to sell something. So I started in the service industry, which I think everybody should test out in their life. Service and sales definitely will tell you a lot about yourself. Especially when you finish your schooling. And when I did finish school, I got hired on by a big corporate company, Coca-Cola, and I worked for them for 10 years. And it was a great climb, but in the end, corporate organizations shift very quickly. Things change, and I knew that my time was limited. So I then decided to leave abruptly and went and sold cosmetics for Mary Kay. So you talk about a big shift. I worked my way up to director energy into something that's really not mine. So I'll never really have that. So I decided to open a company called Personalized. And as many companies later, you learn So what we were doing was selling handbags with photos on them. So if you had your favorite dog or your favorite person, you could put them on these handbags. I couldn't sew a lick. Like, I didn't even know how to stitch a hem. So I had invested in someone coming on board. We became partners. I bought a camera and said, well, I'll become a photographer. How difficult can that be? So then it launched into my photography business. I left Personalized with my partner, started my new career as a photographer for 10 years, owned a couple of studios downtown Halifax, got bought out by a big developer, realized square footage was too expensive to start over, and went back into the 9-to-5 mundane job for about 2 years. It almost did me in. And then I moved back to Halifax, and I realized that weddings was my passion. I didn't want to be a photographer, but I didn't know really where I wanted to go. And I think as you're journeying on your entrepreneurship and you're trying to figure out what it is, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to make a lot of silly decisions and say, you know, that didn't work. But really, it's pushing yourself forward until you feel the right vibe from whatever you're trying to achieve. So I think once you know, and hopefully you're successful.
Lisa, what was your motivation for starting your business, and why did you choose to start business that you did?
So this current business I have is the manufacturing of the all-natural tick repellents. And I started this I moved to Mahone Bay, Nova Scotia, and shortly after, my boys both got Lyme disease, quite severely at the time. And that's when I realized at that time there were no all-natural tick repellents out there, only DEET, and I did not want to put DEET on them. So I just started to do my own research, and I'll like cut the long story short, where I ended up pairing up with Acadia University, and working with them, we ended up coming up with our tick repellent, and we've since done other products as well. But my motivation in the beginning was my boys.
Lisa? Oh, sorry. No, it was Shannon. Go ahead. Sorry. Mess it up.
It's all good. My motivation was I just didn't want to go back to a 9-to-5. So I had a clear path, start over, loved weddings, and decided that, you know, at first I had done my own wedding. So I thought, well, you know, I lived in a very small community. There was no services. There was no planners. There was no anybody selling, you know, doing decor. So I literally spent hours creating and building my pieces. I was very creative anyway. So my house became this big room of stuff, as my husband would say. And after we got married, I thought, what do I do with this stuff? Like, you know, do I give it away, charity, does somebody buy it? So I came back to Halifax, and then I thought, well, a lot of people are getting married, so what do they do with their stuff? And I thought I'd open a buy and sell. Oh Lord, that was the worst mistakes I'd ever made, because even though I created the company and thought I could go in and buy all of their inventory and then redo it and put my kind of touch on it, it was the buy and sell itself was an absolute nightmare. And so quickly, within 2 months, I shifted around, designed my business to offer setup and tear down, and then I also started to introduce a sustainable product. We actually design in high-end faux floral, so we don't use real floral. We build product in color based on clients' visions and weddings and corporate accounts. And this sustainable product became big. And so we were building and renting, and then we were asked being set up, and can you design? And as a photographer for 10 years, shooting weddings, I knew layers of room in the back of my head, and I could design a space very quickly. So the company grew very, very quickly in that 8 years. So that's kind of how it all started.
Justin?
What was the question again?
What was your motivation for starting your business, and why did you choose to start the business you did?
Yeah, the reason why I started it was just because I was getting jobs and it just wasn't working out for me. I didn't see the ladder to climb up as quick as I wanted to climb. But as soon as I started my own company, all of a sudden I'm the boss day one, and I liked how that sounded. I don't know, the motivation probably came from like how quick it was growing week by week, like the broadcast world, the content world. Each and every single person in here has a phone, an iPad. You guys can create content like that. So then once I found out that other people had the same passion as me and how quickly I could grow this thing as long as it was under one umbrella called High Button Sports, that was the motivation to like just keep seeing where it could go. And people always say time flies, and they're right. You know, they go, yeah, Justin, your company's not going to grow. It's going to take at least 5, 6, 7 years. Well, I blinked and now it's been 7 years and it is where I want it to be. So the motivation is just the excitement of the actual growth. If anyone in here has a passion or something that they love to do, consider, I know you do, like there's so many things to do in the world. Each and every single one of you people have something that you love to do. You just have to figure out a way to turn it into a business, and it's easier now than ever. It's so simple. It's just literally consistency and hard work, and then you're off to the races. And that's just the thing that I found out was the consistency, the hard work. Then all of a sudden people are emailing you saying, hey, can I do this with you? Can I do that with you? Can you guys come out to New Brunswick and do this with us? And all of a sudden you have a demand. And once that demand takes off, then it's just about hiring good people to take on that demand because you're only one person. But yeah, sorry, to answer your question, the motivation was just seeing the progress and how quick everything was growing. It was just fun for me to observe and be in.
Stephanie?
Like I said, it kind of hit me over the head. I was quite content at my job at the local hospital, working with children with autism. But as I looked around and I worked with these families, I kept seeing parents accessing some great services, but being on really long wait lists and trying to figure out how to build their own therapy teams and trying to navigate systems that weren't set up for it to be easy for parents that already had so much going on in their world. So I had a really strong ethical pull to make sure that these families that I was working with every day actually had a phone number that they could call, and they could have a whole therapy team there to support their children and their development and to support them through everything that they were going through. So I kept looking around and waiting. These models, are in Toronto. This model is elsewhere. It's going to be here. Some adult is going to come and set this up. And I was like, I'm the adult. I've got to do this, don't I? So I had to step into entrepreneurship there because I realized really quickly all of my friends are occupational therapists or psychologists or other speech language pathologists. I had the network. I knew the skill set that I was really looking for to support these clients. So I didn't see what I knew was the right solution happening, and I knew that I could make it happen. And we're 6 now, and I've got a team of 18, and we're growing and growing and growing. So I was right about the need. But yeah, just kind of fell into it and then had that pull and had to kind of step into what I knew was my role.
And Michelle?
I would say it was two-sided. One was first and foremost, because I think this part's important, is the passion for my occupation, that I love being a physiotherapist and I love helping individuals in pain and injury. So that was the first and foremost, and I wanted to put my own touch on it. A lot of physiotherapy clinics, like national chains, not to speak ill or bad about them, but it seems like almost like a factory. Like they're just pumping patients through, and yes, patient outcomes are important, but financial goals are the most important. They have to appease the individuals high up in these companies. So I felt that I wanted to put my own touch on it, but also on the other side, financially, in the end, I knew it was going to be a lot of work over many, many, many years. But in the end, I wanted to build something that was financially important for myself, financially important for my employees, because they have to be happy as well and working hard for the whole company to succeed. It's not just myself. And then in the end, have something that I can either pass on to, whether it be one of my coworkers if they want to purchase it, or my children if they're interested in the same profession, those sort of things, and have sort of a legacy from that perspective. So that was probably where it came from. Both my parents were healthcare workers. My mom was a nurse for 42 years. My father was a social worker, but on the side, my dad was an entrepreneur and owned a few different housing companies and contracting companies in kind of rural Nova Scotia and Bridgewater. So, and he's now doing it in Cape Breton as well. So I saw the passion for healthcare with both of them, especially my mother. Like, I'd never heard her complain about her job one day in her whole life. And my father and his hard work with entrepreneurship. So I sort of kind of was born that and raised through that, and put those two things together.
Shannon, what are the advantages and or disadvantages as you see them to being an entrepreneur?
I think for our company, it's instant gratification for myself and my team. We work with our clients from the moment they walk into our showroom right till the day that they have their event, whether it's corporate or wedding related. So we get to see the process through it all and have, the feedback from them, and watch it all come to fruition. So for us, it's living the dream literally and watching them be so excited about how this has all turned out. I also think, you get to set your own hours so you can schedule your life around your family sometimes. I will say that will happen later, not so much in the beginning. Yeah, and I just think, if you work really hard in your business, it will pay off, but you have to work very hard in your business. You have to be committed 24/7, Disadvantages, well, there's lots, but, I think the advantages outweigh them. So for me, it was work-life balance. When you start a company or a business, you are so motivated that you kind of forget about everything else happening in your life. So I was fortunate to have a very supportive family behind me to push me as well as support the house while I went on my journey. But it is difficult for that work-life balance. Other than that, I don't really, there is a time commitment that you have to put in. And once you get there, it's so rewarding because you have the team to support you, that you're now moving on to that CEO, you're working on your business, not in your business. And once you reach that, everything just changes. So, I have a team of 15 people, and it started with just me building bouquets and doing whatever. And as you build your team up, and you have to trust the process because you can't always just do it yourself. So if you want that freedom and flexibility in your life, you have to trust the people that support you. So that's key to growth.
Michelle?
A lot of similarities, of course. I mean, from an advantage perspective, yeah, eventually you'll have the ability to potentially have a lot more work-life balance and, choose when and where you do your work to a certain extent. I still practice, and as a physiotherapist, and I probably always will, because again, I'm very passionate about that, but I have backed off a little bit, and I don't practice and treat full time. So that, and then from a disadvantage perspective, I guess, is the biggest things, I guess, would be just dealing with the everyday headaches of whether it be, which are normal parts of life. But you have employees who are sick and you have to change plans, or you have something break and you have to get it fixed, and it's your responsibility to find that individual, whether it be, the funding and banking perspective of loans and all those things that come with that, that it's, that's all on you, your staff, that's not their job, right? So, but I think if you surround yourself with the right individuals, I have a lot of help from family and friends. Like my uncle is my bookkeeper. I can lean on him and trust him and understand, ask him all kinds of accounting questions and all those sorts of things. So it's, if you build it right, it'll be worth it in the end, but it'll take time.
Stephanie, you want to go next?
I'd say one of the biggest advantages from my perspective would be that no one's telling you how to do things. As someone that has worked in school systems and hospitals, I was trained to think a certain way or to approach situations in a certain way. And entrepreneurship and building my own practice has allowed us to follow the latest evidence and follow our clinical gut and do really, really good work for these families, and all, that's to say, all the programs here do, but this has given us really the opportunity that our approaches aren't tied to anything. We're able to do everything in our clinical scope. So that probably sounded like a lot of jargon, I'm realizing, sorry about that, but basically we have the freedom to think differently and approach things in a new way, which is really, really exciting in our fields. I'd say entrepreneurship's a lot of highs and a lot of lows. The highs are really great and exciting. And then the lows when it's 3 a.m. and you've got to get payroll in and things are really stressful because the account didn't get paid that should have been. And, you know, the exciting part of entrepreneurship is pretty stressful sometimes. So I'd say the highs and lows are highs and lows. But yeah, I think there are a lot of advantages too.
And Lisa?
Everything these guys are saying, absolutely 100%. One of the biggest advantages of, in my opinion, of being an entrepreneur is you get to constantly learn and create something that's truly yours. And everything, as much as you put into it, is what you get out of it. And you don't go home at 4 o'clock and close the door and have supper and watch TV, whatever, because you're constantly you're living it. You live the entrepreneurship lifestyle. That doesn't mean you can't have balance in your life. You absolutely can, but you live it. And I just love that. And just constantly learning and strategizing. With the disadvantages, it's kind of the same thing. You don't get to close that door at 4 o'clock and go home and just do whatever you want. You may have to work that night because someone didn't come in or something else came up or whatever. So it all balances. It should balance out more or less. But really, the advantages and disadvantages are more or less perspective.
Michelle, if you had to start your career as an entrepreneur, would you do anything differently?
Nothing significantly. I mean, there's always things you look back and say, oh, I would do this a bit differently, or maybe I would redesign my clinic slightly differently or whatever. But I guess the biggest thing would be, from my type of business, I needed a brick and mortar, like I needed a location. And I had my eye on where my clinic is for years before the land was even developed. I knew what was coming to that area. I knew what the future looked like from a growth perspective, and I figured that would be an amazing location for a clinic. And so I kind of jumped at the opportunity as soon as there was a commercial development on it. Probably wasn't quite ready yet, but that's sort of part of entrepreneurship, right? Like, you know, you have to jump at the opportunity, and a little bit of it is learning as you go and doing the best you can and working as hard as you can. So I'd say with that would probably be the biggest thing would be that maybe I could have done it a little bit later than I did and been a little tiny bit more prepared. But I don't regret it for a second, because the location where I have is exactly what I wanted and what I thought it was going to be. So, yeah.
Lisa?
If I could go back in time and restart it, I wouldn't start it any differently. Not because I didn't make mistakes, because I made a lot of mistakes, but truly everything that I've done, I had to do in order to get to where I am right now. And for some people, it might take longer. Other people might be shorter. But no, I absolutely wouldn't change a thing. However, if someone was to give me advice, I would or ask for my advice, I'd certainly share the mistakes I'd made. But you really do have to make mistakes. And when you make them, you have to embrace them and learn from them.
Shannon?
Ditto. I agree. I don't think I'd change anything. I really believe you go through life and just don't live in the past, learn from your past, and just move forward with more of a positive energy. And I think that's kind of what I did. And I've had some really, really bad life moments and to the bottom of wherever I could be, and I climbed back out. And so if you think you can't, you can. You just need to motivate yourself enough to say, I want it more than I want to just let this keep me down. You know, so for me, I agree. It's made me who I am. The only thing I think I want is 5 more years back. Just 5.
Sure.
That's all. Can I have it?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Stephanie?
I wouldn't do anything differently, except I would be ready to fail faster. I think that would be the advice I'd give myself. Fail as fast as you can. Figure out if that's going to work, test it, fail, fail, fail. Because the faster you fail, the faster you pivot, the better you're ready for what's going on. And I think my personality is very risk adverse by nature. And it took me years to embrace the fail. And now I'm ready for it. I'm excited when we fail because now we're closer to getting to where we want to. So I think that would be the only thing is be more comfortable with the risk and be ready to fail as fast as you can.
Justin?
The thing I like about the thing I didn't like when I first started my own company was I didn't replace myself. Really, the power of replacing yourself is really powerful in terms of growing a company. I don't really know if you guys need to worry about that because you don't have companies yet. But when you start having success within a company, you need to replace yourself, almost fire yourself. Be so good at producing a video that someone's saying, okay, I'd like a video produced for me. And now you go out and hire someone to produce that video, you take a cut of that money, and then you move on to creating other jobs. Every single job within my company, I've created myself. I've created a demand and then went out and hired this guy in front of me. So each and every single thing that has happened in my company, I know how to do it. So when someone comes back to me and says, Justin, how do I do this? I can tell them how to do it because I've done it. So the power of replacing yourself, the power of firing yourself, whatever it is, I wish I did that earlier because I was too afraid to let go. It's hard when you start something, it's your baby. You don't want to let it go and just give it to a complete stranger you met 2 weeks ago. So, but you have to trust. That kind of comes back to you, to like the hiring process. Make sure that you read a resume, go for it, but really when you're talking to a person and you're hiring them, like look them in the eyes, get to know them. Are they going to represent your company well? And if you trust that person, hire them and just keep replacing yourself. I'm replacing myself today. We just hired a co-op student from JL Isley. They're going to start tomorrow. And just replace yourself. So that's kind of one thing I wish I did earlier.
Lisa, has your role as an entrepreneur changed due to the pandemic? If so, then how?
Not really. During the pandemic, we did fine. We did well. People were buying more local because they weren't able to, maybe travel out of the country. So they were going outdoors more, and our product really did quite well. And I say not really because I've been an entrepreneur for 26 years, and whether it's the pandemic or whether it's something small down the street that's affecting your business personally, there's constant change going on. So you're constantly pivoting and having to re-strategize. And the pandemic was just another pivot and trying to figure out how to make it work.
Shannon?
I was the complete opposite. The pandemic really hurt us. We were probably the first to shut down and the last to open. You couldn't hold events, small gatherings, if you remember. Everybody was trying to sneak into each other's homes. Well, we were trying to still do events, and we probably didn't see anything really move for about 1.5 years. It was very difficult. We had some openings and stuff like that. So we did reshift quite a bit through the pandemic to survive, and we did have brick and mortar through it all. I mean, I've had brick and mortar for 8 years. I believed in myself that much. I opened my business and walked into the first place I could find. It's only 500 square feet, but hey, it worked. So for us, we pivoted to the fact that a lot of these clients that were getting married couldn't obtain real florals. They couldn't have things shipped in from other parts of the country. Nothing was really moving, and we provide a line of faux florals so they could have customizable stuff, rent it, and bring it back. And so we started to build that whole retail line and made it so that that's what we became really well known for, was those sort of things. I think secondly, right after the pandemic, because everything was much smaller and people saw the need. At one point when you eloped or had a small wedding, people just thought you didn't have any money because they're like, well, you're going to have something small, you just can't afford it. It's now the thing. So after the pandemic, it became a thing to have small intimate weddings. So we opened in our facility, we had another big space. I then started renting the back space, and we changed the front space to a very romantic, intimate wedding facility that holds up to 50 people. And we didn't know if it would fly. We just hope and prayer again, let's do it. And so we were very lucky that we hit that just at the mark where people were accepting of it, and it was more of a trend than having these weddings of 250, 300 people that we were used to. So we did well after the pandemic. We just blossomed and flew. So it's been great since then.
Stephanie?
I think the role of an entrepreneur is to your point, know all the hats, wear all the hats, be the hats. And I think that role during the pandemic, we were very fortunate because all our services could move virtual. So we didn't have to miss out on those one-on-one therapy sessions because we had been all trained to provide them virtually anyways. So we stayed pretty steady. I had to stay on top of all of the moving parts and the changes, but that's actually something I really love. I love a good pivot. So I would say my role didn't change because I already had all the hats on.
Justin, how about you?
The pandemic was good for our business. Live streaming picked up in terms of parents weren't allowed in the hockey rinks to watch their kids play. So we went in one day with a camera, microphone, and just started streaming. The parents would watch from their car in the parking lot. And then, we would charge like $100, and the pandemic was tough for any business. So I remember I would charge 100, watch the streams in the parking lot, or the parents would excuse me. And then I would just kind of linger around the parking lot after game per game, handing out cards, being like, hey, I'll stream your son or daughter's game after this game. And the next thing you know, I would catch myself being at a rink for 7 hours, streaming 7 games, just hustling as much as I can to make money, because you're just so broke. So I know. So that's kind of like how the pandemic changed our company. It's changed it for the better because we have a lot of teams now working with us, which is awesome. How it changed my role as an entrepreneur, I don't know. Like the pandemic separated people. Business is people to people. It's face to face. People buy from people. People don't buy from a computer. Well, I guess people do buy from a computer screen, like Amazon and stuff. But at least in Nova Scotia, if you've been in Nova Scotia long enough, you know that people love to talk to each other. And it's a small community here. And you will grow in terms of your business as long as you're polite to these people, you're communicating well with these people, and you're trying to get the business from the people. So that was probably the hardest part of the pandemic, was not being able to talk to people and tell people about my company face to face. I find that I thrive more when I'm face to face with the person and I get to tell someone about my company. So that was the part that really hurt. But for the most part, it was great, the pandemic, for us. Yeah.
And Michelle?
I wouldn't say that it changed my role a whole lot. I would say my business was just over 2 years old when the pandemic happened, and I had to, just like a lot of businesses, had to shut my door. I had to see people virtually, which for some treatments, some areas of injury is appropriate. You can scale up or scale down depending on the person, their exercises, and give them lots of advice and education, because that is part of what my company does, is that we spend a lot of one-on-one time with our patients and make sure that people are getting their money's worth from whether they're using their insurance or not, or paying out of pocket. But I would say that the biggest thing from the pandemic that it did for me, it just, not that I necessarily needed a kick in the butt, but it motivated me even more. It made me even more focused on, when coming out of it, to want to make my company the best I could, not only for myself, but for my employees. So I would say didn't change my role per se, but it made me even more hyper-focused and more motivated to improve it and scale it up as fast as I could.
Shannon, what advice do you have for our students who may be thinking about starting their business?
I think we we all grow up with a vision in our head of what we want, or kind of what we could do or think of, and we all have these little dreams. Some people don't, that's fine. But most people have something in their mind about, oh, I could do this or I could do that. I'm a very creative person. I've been very creative since I was very young. However, creative and finances don't go hand in hand. I tend to leap very quickly. I leap big. And sometimes that's not the right thing to do. Sometimes it's about taking the time and reining yourself back. My husband is he's got a finance degree, so it's difficult, but it's been healthy now. So I am reined back, and it's great because I've been able to grow my company in a very healthy way. So for me, it's seeking financial advice, whether that's from people that you trust, financial advisor, an accountant, sitting down with them and proposing your plan and build a plan, because if you don't have a business plan, which you're going to need regardless to get loans and anything else, that's important to do. And once you have it on paper, it's no longer kind of a pipe dream. It's kind of like, oh, I actually have something physical in front of me that I can see, and is this really forthcoming for me? So I think that's important. I wish I'd had it was all in my head, literally. But it's however you do it, just take your time, think it through, and lead with your heart and your head as much as you can, because you can be successful. There's a million. I always say there's a million photographers in this city. There's a million real estate agents in this city. They're all independent businesses, but the strong survive. That's because they work their business, they network. I go out every day when I don't have something on the go. I literally am at a networking event. I'm passing out my cards. I need people to know who I am. I need to be upfront and centered. So for me, it's you have to work your business. You just cannot expect it to come to you unless you're doing stuff behind a computer. However, yeah. So good luck in your journey if that's where you choose to go.
Justin?
Advice that I have for university students starting their own business. Well, one, you have to love it. Like, I'm sure some of you are happy to be here, but I'm sure there's some of you that want to get the hell out of here now. So whatever the hell it is you want to do when you go home, that's what you're pumped about. If it's go home and watch Netflix, find a business about watching Netflix, because you're not going to do it unless you love it. So it's that simple. Literally, if you're pumped to be here, that's wicked. That's good for you. But I know when I was sitting out there, I wasn't too happy to be here. I wanted to go out into the world and try something. So if there's anyone in here that wants to leave here, go home, and even if it's a hobby, it doesn't have to be a passion, but just it doesn't matter what, you can create a company out of anything. But if you go home and you're sitting on the couch and you're doing that thing that you love to do, that's your business. Don't overthink it. It's so simple. You don't have to overcomplicate this world, this business that you're trying to start. It's the business, what you want to do. It's right there in front of you. Just sit down in a dark room tomorrow, take a walk, don't look at your phone. The idea will come to you. That's what I did, and it worked out. So whatever it is you're doing right after this, that's your business. Whatever it is you love to do, that's your business. Come up with a cool, catchy name, and then you're good.
Michelle?
Yeah, I would echo some of the other panelists. I'd say passion is number one. You have to have passion. You have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to, even though it's going to be extremely hard work, if it's a passion of yourself, then it's not going to seem like work eventually, right? And it's going to be something that you love to do and that you wake up every morning wanting to do. Like I said, similar to my mom, who was a nurse for 42 years, I never heard her complain about being a nurse. She wasn't an entrepreneur, but I never heard her complaining about being a nurse a single day in her whole entire life, right? And so once I found physiotherapy and I knew that I loved that and I was passionate about it. There's always stresses in any job, and sure, when you come home you're like, oh, this happened today or that happened today, but overall I do love being a physiotherapist. And so you have to find that passion, surround yourself with individuals that you trust, and I think know your strengths, right? So I knew my strengths were my passion for physiotherapy and wanting to apply that in a certain way in my clinic, in terms of how often we see somebody, how much they're going to get out of every session, and making it such an enjoyable enjoyable experience for everyone, is as enjoyable as going to physiotherapy can be. Because like I said, some people are in some significant amounts of pain and have significant injuries, but know your strengths. And I knew my strengths were in that aspect of my passion, but also in the aspect that I knew that I was going to be a hard worker and I was not going to stop until I had success. But I knew that I had to surround individuals in areas of finance, and other areas in marketing or whatever the case may be, to help me out. So I didn't overstep and think, oh, I can take all this on entirely by myself. So know what your strengths are, and then surround the people that can help you with all those other areas as well.
Lisa, what do you have?
Two things. One, ask lots of questions, and it's okay to ask questions. All the businesses that I've been involved in or started, I've truly known virtually nothing about. One of my passions is learning about new things and discovering new things and figuring things out. And by doing that, you have to ask questions. And so don't ever feel like or say this is a dumb question, but there's no such thing. And there's people out there who are so willing to help you. And the majority of the time, 9 out of 10 times, whoever you're asking the question to, if they don't know the answer to the question, they'll know someone else who does. So asking questions is huge. And the second thing is, be kind to yourself. And maybe that's life in general, but when you're an entrepreneur and you're doing things, you are going to fail, or you are going to look back and go, oh my God, that was so stupid. Why did I do that? But you got to be good to yourself, because that's how you figure things out. And you're going to be your best, you should be your best advocate. And if you move forward positively in that way, you're going to do well.
And Stephanie.
The best advice I could give is to validate your idea as fast as you can. If you think you're going to open the best cafe selling the best lemonade, sit where you think the cafe is going to be with lemonade and see if anyone's actually going to buy it. Right? Find a way as fast as you can to validate and test your idea. If you're going to make the best meatballs, see if anyone's going to buy them. And it can't be your mom, can't be your cousin. It has to be someone that doesn't know you, because I have a really great imagination and I know how things are going to go and plan it out, and I'll pour hours into something and then I'll be so wrong often, right? So find a way to validate. A good example is we thought we were going to hire a whole therapy team in Bridgewater. We set up a whole daycare screening. Oh, this daycare is full. The stats, the numbers, everything says this is going to be it's going to be a home run, right? The team's there. I hired everything. We went in to do the screener. Out of 75 children we screened, one called us after, right? So they actually had a beautiful public system there, and they didn't need private therapists. I was wrong. All of my numbers, all of my data, all my passion, all my imagination resulted in no bueno. It didn't work, right? So we figured out really quickly because I validated my idea and I was wrong. Great. We moved to Truro. Truro had huge need. We built a team there. So being ready to be wrong and accepting the data when it comes back to you is really, really important, but find a way to validate it as quickly as you can.
That was all the questions. Do our students have any questions? Or any of the online students have any questions? You can put in the chat. No questions? Going one? Going twice? Okay. I think you did good. I think you just did really good. If we don't have any questions, we can, okay, we have one. How difficult did you find initial startup? How difficult did you find initial startup? Any of you can answer.
Startup.
Yes. Oh, yeah, being an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Start is awful.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to.
The start is it's brutal, but you just have to have faith. Like the start's not fun. I don't know.
I would
How
say
do you-
my start was fun.
Yeah, was it?
But
That
it
for
was
me, yeah,
very-
for me, it wasn't.
Very slow.
I didn't have fun. No one wanted to do anything with me. That's mine. Yeah, I would say, again, what was the question was,
How difficult do you
how
find
diffi-
initial startup?
Yeah,
Like
I
for
mean-
gathering resources and all
yeah,
that?
it's, again, if you're passionate about it and it's something you really love, even though it's going to be difficult, you're going to push through, right? And financially, you have to obviously not only have your finances in for your company, but also your personal finances in order as well, because they're usually linked. So, for me, I knew that I practiced my whole career in the HRM as a physiotherapist leading up to the open of my own practice. And I was confident enough that I knew that I would be able to build a decent caseload right away for myself. And so I didn't hire too quickly and hire other individuals right away. But I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make the same amount of money that I personally was making at another clinic before I opened my own. So I had to put my own personal finances in order and was willing to not make as much for the first little bit, right? As you build that up. So, I mean, it was difficult, but again, if it's a passion of yours and you really love it, then it's going to be worth it in the end.
Any more questions? You
You ask the question.
So my question is that did any one of you thought of quitting, and how did you counter that thought?
I like to say that entrepreneurship is like a very bad, unhealthy relationship. It's either really good or it's really bad. And when it's really bad, it's bad. But it's going to get better. You always know it's going to get better, but you have to persevere. You just cannot give up no matter how bad it gets. So yes, 100%. But knew deep down that I had this, I don't know, inability to quit perhaps. So just knew I had to plug on.
I think we all can say we probably quit once or twice. But I think, again, when you're going through this process and you're looking at, when you quit and then you go maybe get another job, the 9 to 5, you evaluate your life and say, is this what you really want to do? And maybe it is. Maybe it's easier. Because entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. That's the thing. You all may have dreams and ambitions and stuff, but it's really not for everybody. You really have to have the sales part of it inside of you to be able to do it. You're selling something, you're selling yourself, you're selling your product, you're selling a service. So if you've never been in sales, you might want to go into sales first and just see if you have the ability to sell. I just find that it really helped me get out of my own way, because I was like, oh, I can do this, if I kind of learn how to approach, how to talk, how to present myself. And you only do that through selling something. So if you're all trying to determine whether or not it's a fit for you, I suggest go get a sales job. I really feel like it really helped me understand if I was capable of doing something on my own.
And I would say if your values are aligned with your business, quitting is not really an option, right? So you might have the day that you're like, oh, I'm on the hamster wheel and I'm tired today and it's a really long day and my office admin called in sick and today's just a hard day. But then you step back and you're going, but we're helping lots of families and we're, supporting 18 full-time positions in Nova Scotia right now, and we're building capacity in our community. And once you kind of look at the bigger landscape of what you on that hamster wheel today looks like and your business aligned with your values, it goes away pretty quick.
Does that help? Okay. You have questions up here?
Hello. Is there anything that you guys think would be helpful to know regarding like investors or investment for your brand or like your business, and like kind of like maybe regarding sales, but not maybe in like a sales standpoint, but like selling your what your brand or your business would be to kind of secure like investment or funds for your business?
Do you mean like getting a venture investor or getting people to invest in your company?
You mean like the bank or like a private products?
Private, yeah.
Venture capital.
Yeah, like venture capitalists.
Well, you got to find a seat at the table if you're going to have a venture capitalist talk to you. Like, so you have to have something on a piece of paper that is profitable, hence your business. I don't have the most expertise in this area. I haven't sold my company, but I have sat at those tables, and I know that those people want to make sure that you're making money, and that you also have a future, like a plan moving forward. They don't want to buy a business and then you leave and then it's not making money. So I just, you got to find the right person. And also, you don't want to go into business with someone that's going to completely change around your company. If you have this company that's been working for the past 8 years, you're profitable, your staff are really happy with everything, and then you take on an investment, and then this investor changes the culture of your office, that could be trouble. So I don't have advice for you. No, I don't, but build something really special that's profitable and that you think can help change the world. And then those people will find you. You don't have to find them.
And I'm just going to add one small thing is if you want to learn about that stuff, you go to the events where there are venture capitalists, and because there are certain events like that here, and you can just watch and learn and figure out, okay, how's this guy presenting his business? Oh, what questions did they ask? And what are they looking for? That's what I would do starting out.
And learn really early on how to build value in your business. It's going to change based on what sector you're in, what value looks like. So whatever you decide to go into, look into how that's determined by investors and start focusing on those pieces before you get in front of someone. And if you can find a mentor or someone that has done investment or someone that's a few stages on in business that has taken on investment to kind of help guide you through it, I think there's a lot of benefit to that.
In Nova Scotia, there's so many opportunities out there for people helping startups or even people who are already in business. There's a Center for Women in Business with Nora there, but there's a lot of other organizations. You got a COA, you got Invest Nova Scotia, and that's one of those things where you ask one person like Nora, hey, Nora, I'm not a woman, but what else can I? And then Nora's going to tell you, oh, you might want to look at this group or you might want to do that. Like, that's how you start to build it up. Even if you don't have a business idea right now, that's how you start to learn. And that's how you start to make connections. And if you feel dumb going in there, that's okay. We all do. That's how everybody feels, and you just got to remember that when you go in, and then eventually it'll just become second nature.
Yeah, again, network. Because only then do you go out there and you put yourself out there, do up your business cards, whether you don't even know what you're really doing fully. But at least if you have a proposal or something in your head that you're thinking of, if you go to these networking events, people will fill you with ideas. They will give you lots of advice because they've also been in industry or something related business-wise. So, they can offer a lot. So there's a lot of networking that happens within the city every week.
Any more questions? No, then we'll wrap up. Thank you for the panelists. Take the time and come here and speak to the students. We have some gifts, right? We have some gifts for you. And for the students, just a friendly reminder that you have 48 hours to do the surveys if you want the point. And thank you for being here. Have a great day. It's a great day out.